Chromatographic Specialties is pleased to present to you the maintenance on the Knauer pump head. Today I will be performing the maintenance on the 50 mil, however, it's the same for all the other sizes that are available. So you will notice that my pump head is already removed from the front of the pump. To do so, there's 4 screws in each corner of the pump head. What you have to do is use your Allen key and unscrew each screws a little bit. So a little bit here, and then you work your way over. And then you do it again until all of the screws are removed. Make sure that you hold the pump head in your hand just to make sure it's not going to fall out. Once that's removed, what we have to do is remove these 4 nuts. For the top part, we have to start with these 2. To do so, you're going to need a 1/4 inch wrench and a 13 wrench. So place it over here, unscrew, and then once it's loosened up, you can just go with your hands and take it out. Then we have to remove the 4 nuts. The check valve are here and here. On that side, both are dummies. So just to make sure that you're removing both one after the other. So we're gonna go with the 13 again. Check valve. 13 with the check valve, and then the dummy side, over here, the dummy side. So as you can see, these are different. So the dummy has a larger opening versus the check valve, just because this is just a placeholder inside the pump head. Once those are removed, we can move along over on the other side of the pump head. So you take your 4mm Allen key and you start unscrewing. Make sure that you unscrew a tiny bit on the top, then a tiny bit on the bottom, and you move like that until it's all removed. The reason is there's springs here that are compressing for the piston. If we unscrew only the top or only the bottom, it can snap back and then your piston will break. There we go. So we heard the little pop. That means the 2 screws are gone. So we can put this aside. These are your pistons. So as you can see, these are fairly large because they are the 50 mil. The 10 mil ones are much smaller. Then right here we have 2 metal O-rings, so we can just flip this aside and they should pop right out. Then we have some seals. So to remove the seals, you're going to use the remover tool. Those are different sizes depending on which pump head you have. So those are meant for the 50 mil seals. So what you do is you put it in, you screw, all the way to the bottom, and then you pull. There you go. So unscrew it, and then do the same thing over here. Then we can open this up. So right here we have O-rings that we have to remove. At this stage you have to be very careful because you don't want to scratch anything inside of the surface. So I'm going to use just a pick in order to remove the O-ring, but you have to be very, very careful that you're not touching anything. There we go. There's one. And there's the second one right here. Okay, so this is done. Over here, there's this little ceramic, just O-ring again. In the 10 mil version, this piece is transparent, but you just like flop it over and they pop right out. Okay, then we have our second set of seals, which again are a little remover tool. Okay, now you can see the insert popped right out, so that's fine. Over here. There we go. There we go. So at this stage, that's where you want to clean up. So in the insert right here, right now you can see that there's a little bit of particles, a little bit of, sometimes you're going to see particles from your seals, you're going to see some buildup from your mobile face, so you want to clean this up. So you take some solvent, spray it in, use some Kitten wipe and just wipe the entire thing inside. Make sure that this is also clean, and if it is, then you're good to start back up. Sometimes you're gonna see a little bit of buildup around the springs of the piston, so use your solvent, clean that up. Same thing around this little ring, metal ring. So just make sure that every single piece is cleaned. Okay, so usually you would have your replacement parts. For the sake of the video, I'm just going to reuse the same ones, but technically you would have to replace your O-rings, your seals, your 2 pistons, and your 2 check valves. The dummies can be reused, that's not an issue. The only time we would have to change them if they would be plugged, and then you would be able to see it because this hole is big enough that we can see light through it. So if you see that there's a particle blocking the light, then that's your key to change those. Otherwise you can just reuse the same. Okay, so first thing is to place your inserts back up. Make sure that the marking for your volume of your pump is at the right position. So that's the top, that's the bottom. So we want to see 50 mil at the top. So we're going to place it back. Same thing for this one. There you go. So you see there's a little bit of a play here. This one not so much, but some will be able to rotate a tiny bit, the two inserts. So what you want to make sure is like this is really well aligned and straight, because otherwise if it's not, once everything's going to be put back together, you're going to see a leak right in the middle here. And if that happens, then you have to remove the whole thing again and then start over. So just make sure that your movement it's right aligned and everything is straight up. You can also look from the front. So if your marking are straight or if they're crooked a little bit, then that's your cue to make a tiny split of a change. In our case, we're fine. So we have to put the seals back. So what do? You use your insertion tool, put it in, and press it back. In our case, it's gonna bring the insert up, and you see there's a little bit of elevation, so you just press it down. The insertion tool just helps to make sure that everything is straight and you're not crooking the seal when you're inserting it. And then press down. At this stage, it's also good to use a little bit of solvent to make sure the seals are gonna expand in their position that they're supposed to be in. Then we put back our little spacers. It doesn't really matter. You see like there's a lot of play just to make sure that they're somewhat centered, so when we put the piston back, they're not gonna float around or they're not gonna hit on the spacers, but otherwise you can put them pretty much anywhere. Then we're gonna put back the O-rings. So you'll see like they don't really go in the crevices of the pump head. Just try your best, and once they're gonna be squished down anyway over here, they'll take their position. So flip it all back, and then use the insertion tool again. Press it down, and then press it down. Same thing on the other side. Press it down. And then our little metal spacer. Okay? Here, I left on the piston in their spring holder just because it makes it easier to remember how they go. So, to change your piston, remove the spring, slide out the ring, change this, put it back the way that it was with the spring, and then you're good to go. So once you change your two pistons, you can just place them in the hole like this, and make sure that the springs are inside the interior ring over here. And then we can use our little plastic holder again. So you'll see right now there's a lot of compression that needs to be happening. So what you have to do is you use your Allen key, and then you press down a bit, and you try to catch the screws. So see, like this one I didn't catch. Just have to press a little bit harder, and then it catched. So we're gonna have to do the other side. And then again, it's like we were unscrewing earlier. So a little bit and a little bit on both sides, one after the other. And we be careful not to snap the pistons. Trying to give you the best visual here. Okay, so once everything is screwed up, see like how the pistons are just floating? So carefully, you just want to press them down. And you're going to feel a little bit of a resistance about here, so you just push some more. And to make sure that they're in properly, you should be able to press and feel the piston moving back and forth. So we're going to do the same on the other side, gently. A little bit of resistance right here, and then, okay, we get it. Perfect. So now it's back for the check valves. So you'll notice here, there's a little ring engraved in the check valve. That gives you the positioning. So over here, just feel like this is the base of an arrow. So if you had an arrow, you would be like this, and then the triangle of your arrow would be pointing the flow direction. Because your flow is starting from the bottom to the top, you want to make sure that the check valve is positioned properly so your flow is flowing and all in the same direction. So this one, for the bottom one, is perfectly positioned because it's showing the flow going upwards. Just how to make sure we're using the right nut, putting in, usually you would use a new one, and then screwing it all back up. For now, we're just going to do finger tight. For the top one, the flow is still going into this direction. So we want to make sure it keeps on going that way. So we're going to put the check valve in here, and then take the nut, screw it in, and there you go. For the dummy, there's no direction, so it doesn't really matter. There we go. Okay. So at this stage, we want to just give it a tiny bit. So right now, everything is finger tight, and then we just want to give it a little bit more on every one. So just a quarter turn, don't need much. There we go. And then we're going to install these back. Sometimes it just needs a little bit help to be in position, so just use your 1/4-inch wrench. Okay, so everything is finger tight right now. So we're going to use our wrench again just to hold this, and 1/4 turn, and 1/4 turn. Okay, and then you can reattach your 4 screws. Again, what I suggest to you is you attach one on each corner, slowly here, all the way up until they're all together, and then you can screw these two. It doesn't really matter because at this point it's going to be secured by these two, so you don't really have to go a little bit. You can just go all the way here, all the way there, and reattach your connection, and then you're good to go. Main thing is, once you restart your pump, check for leaks here, at the bottom, over here, and make sure that it's not leaking in between, so you didn't have a positioning issue with your inserts, and then you're good to go. Thank you very much, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact our instrumentation team, and you have a nice day.